Hello explorers, thanks for joining us again and welcome back to another exciting and informative video on our YouTube channel. If you are joining us for the first time, we want to thank you for watching. In this episode, I will be diving into the reason why Niger crisis began in Libya. More importantly, I will be looking at why decades after NATO's intervention in Libya, the people across the Sahel are still left picking up pieces. I will encourage you to watch this video to the end because we shall be looking into geopolitics, dive into perspective, more analytical information, and the reason why the United States of America and Europe has caused inconveniences to the people of Libya. So without any much delay, let's just dive straight into it. The events in Niger over the past few months have been alarming to watch. What began as a military coup now risks spiraling into a wider war in West Africa, with a group of juntas lining up to fight against a regional force threatening to invade and also restore democratic rule in Niamey. The junta have explicitly justified their coup as a response to the continuous deterioration of the security situation plaguing Niger, and also complained that in and other countries in Sahel have been dealing for over 10 years with regards to negative socioeconomic, security and political and humanitarian consequences of NATO's hazardous adventures in Libya. Even ordinary Nigerians backing the junta have also done so. Also in this episode, I will be reminding us of the iron rule of foreign interference in the continent of Africa. Even military intervention considered successful at the time have unintended effects with regards to the cascade of long and after missions formally ended. The 2011 Libyan adventures saw United States of America, France and British governments launched an initially limited humanitarian intervention to protect civilians that quickly morphed into a regime change operations, unleashing a torrent of violence and also extreme across the region. There was little dissent at the time as Libyan leader Muamma Gaddafi forces battle anti-government rebel. Politicians, the press and also anti-Gaddafi Libyan painted an overwhelmingly simplistic picture of unarmed protesters and other civilians that are facing imminent, if not already unfolding, situation with regards to genocide in the country. Only years later will the United Kingdom House of Commons Foreign Affairs Committee report publicly determined, echoing and also conclusion of other post-mortems that charges of an impending civil massacre were not supported by the available evidence based on the ground information, and that the threat to civilians was overstated, and that the rebels included the significant Islamist element that carried out numerous atrocities of its own. If you look at perspective, the late Senator of the United States of America, John McCain, Joe Lieberman, and also John Kerry all called for a no-fly zone. According to analysis, I love the military, but there's always seem to find reasons why you can't do something rather than why you can, explained the former Senator John McCain. The American Enterprise Institute, Daniel Plecker, said it will be an important humanitarian step. The now defunct Foreign Policy Initiative, the FBI, gathered a who is who of a neoconservative to repeatedly urge the same in different areas in the American policy corridors. In a letter to then President Barack Obama, they quoted back Obama's Nobel Peace Prize speech in which he argued that inaction tears at our conscience and can lead to more costly interventions later. Then Secretary of State Hilary Clinton, reportedly instrumental in persuading Obama to act, was hence swayed by similar arguments. Friends and unofficial advisor Sidney Blumenthal assumed her that once Gaddafi fell, limited but targeted military support from the West combined with identifiable rebellion could become a new model for toppling Middle Eastern dictators. Pointing to similar deteriorating situation in Syria, Blumenthal claimed that the most important event that could alter the Syrian equation could be the fall of Gaddafi, providing an example of successful rebellion. Despite Gaddafi's ouster, the Syrian civil war continues this day, and its leader Bashar al-Assad is still in power. Moving ahead, based on our research, Columnist Anne-Marie Slaughter urged Clinton to think of Kosovo and Rwanda, where even a small deployment could have stopped the killing, and insisted United States of America intervention would change the image of the United States overnight. In one email, she dismissed counter-argument. People will say that we will then get emblemished in a civil war. Then we cannot go into another Muslim country, that Gaddafi world, and there will be a million reasons not to act. But all our talks about global responsibility and leadership, not to mention respect for universal values, is completely empty if we stand by and watch this happen with no response but sanctions. If you look at different perspectives, despite grave and often stated reservation, Obama and NATO got United Nations authorization for a no-fly zone. Clinton was privately shown with emails congratulations not just from Blumenthal and Slaughter. Bravo, no fly, bravo, you did it. But even from then, Bloomberg Vice Executive Editor James Rubin, based on our own research, your efforts will be long remembered. Pro-war voices like Plecker and Iraq war architect Paul Wolfowitz immediately began moving the goalpost by discussing Gaddafi's ouster, suggesting escalations to prevent United States of America's defeat, and criticizing those saying that Libya wasn't a vital interest of the United States of America. NATO undefined war aim quickly shifted, and officials spoke out of both sides of their mouth. Some insisted the goal wasn't regime change, while others said that Gaddafi needs to go. It took less than 3 weeks for FBI Executive Director Jimmy Fly, the organizations of the neocons letter to Barack Obama, to go from insisting it will be a limited intervention that will involve regime change to professing, I don't see how we can get ourselves out of this without Gaddafi going, based on our own research. If you look at perspective, after only a month, Obama and NATO ally publicly pronounced they will stay the course until Gaddafi was gone, rejecting the negotiation exit put forward by the African Union. There is no mission creep. NATO Secretary General Andre Fogh Rasmussen insisted 2 months later, 4 months after that Gaddafi was dead, captured and also killed thanks to a large part to a NATO airstrike on the convoy he was traveling in. As geopolitics plays on, that particular event was considered a triumph. We came, we saw, he died. Clinton joked to a reporter upon hearing the news. Analysts talked about the credit owed to Obama for the success. As Operation Unidentified Protector comes to a close, the alliance and also its partners can look back an extraordinary job. Well done, wrote U.S. Permanent Representative to NATO, Ivo Dadler, and then Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, James Stavsevich, in October 2011. Most of all, they can see in the gratitude of the Libyan people that the use of limited force, precisely applied, can also affect real positive political change. That same month, Clinton traveled to Tripoli and also declared Libyan victory as she flashed a peace sign. It was the right thing to do, Obama told the United Nations, presenting the operation as a model that the United States of America was proud to play a decisive role in. Soon, discussions moved to exporting this model elsewhere like Syria, hailing the United Nations for having at last lived up to its duty to prevent mass atrocities. Then Human Rights Watch Executive Director Kenneth Roth called to extend the human rights principle embraced for Libya to other people in need, citing other parts of the Middle East, the Ivory Coast, and also Myanmar, including Sri Lanka. If you look at the strategic option, others disagree. Libya has become the mandate of responsibility to protect. A bad name, complaining Indian United Nations Ambassador Hardeep Singh Puri, echoing the sentiments of other diplomats, angry that the United Nations mandate for protecting civilians had been stretched to regime change. It soon became clear why Gaddafi's toppling not only led hundreds of Tuareg mercenaries under his employ to return to nearby Mali, but also caused an exodus of weapons from the country, leading Tuareg separatists to team up with jihadist group and launch an armed rebellion in the country. Soon, that violence triggered its own coup and separate French military interventions in Mali, which quickly became a sprawling Sahel-wide mission that only ended 9 years later, with the situation by some account worse than it started. According to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, the majority of the more than 400,000 refugees in the Central Sub-Sahel region were also there because of the violence in Mali at the time. Mali was far from alone. Thanks to its plentiful and unsecured weapon depots, Libya became what United Kingdom intelligence labeled the Tesco of illegal arms trafficking, referring to British supermarket chain. Gaddafi ousted opened the floodgates for widespread extremism mayhem across the Sahel region. Retired senior foreign service officer Mark Wetling wrote in 2020 based on our research, as diplomats continue to analyze the changes in Libya. According to experts, things are scarcely better in liberated Libya today. The resulting power vacuum produced exactly what Iraq war critics predicted, a protracted and also forever closing to reenactment or a civil war involving rival governments, neighboring states using them as proxies, hundreds of militias and also violent jihadis. These include the Islamic State, once a several extremist group that made real Clinton's pre-intervention fear of Libya, becoming a giant Somali. Libya, nearly 900,000 needed humanitarian assistance, half of them women and children, and the country had become a lucrative hotspot for slave trading. Today, Libya is unambiguously worse off than before NATO intervention. Ranked 53rd in the world and first in Africa by the 2010 United Nations Human Development Index, the country had dropped 15th place by 2019. Everything from gross domestic product per capita and the number of fully functioning healthcare facilities to access to clean water and also electricity sharply declined. Far from improving the United States standing in the Middle East, most of the Arab world opposed the United Nations and also NATO operations by early 2012. Only 5 years later, Clinton, once eager to claim credit, distanced herself from the decision to intervene. It didn't work. Obama admitted bluntly as he prepared to leave office, publicly deeming the country a mess and privately a shit show. The New York Times collected the damning verdict of those involved. We made it worse. Gaddafi is laughing at us from his grave. By God, if we can succeed here, it will really make one think about embarking on those kinds of efforts. Libya offers numerous cautionary tales about well-meaningful United States of America military interventions, from the way they rapidly escalate beyond their initial goals and also limited nature, to their punch-part and also patient for unforeseen knock-on effects that are hard to control and also snowball disastrously. As Obama's success in the country now threatened to spark regional war in Niger that could even drag the United States into the fighting, it should remind us that the consequences of military action and rejection of negotiation solution last much longer than a look very different years after the initial period on triumphalism. If you look at different perspectives with regards to NATO's intervention in Libya, the Libyan people will not forget that particular incident and how the intervention of a foreign force has destabilized the country until today. We all shall be looking at how Libya picks up itself with regards to this challenging time in the country's history. We want to thank you for watching. Hopefully we've informed you with regards to why the Niger crisis began in Libya and why France itself has struggled in that country and why West African countries have kicked out France in their particular part of the world. We want to thank you for watching. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think with regards to NATO's intervention in Libya at the time, and why do you think that those particular interventions could cause a rift with regards to geopolitical events in the continent of Africa and the global community. We want to thank you for watching. We're looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.